There is one mistake that intelligent people make constantly. They talk too much, not about meaningless things, about the things that actually matter. Their goals, their fears, their next move, their pain, their plans. And every time they do, something is lost. Marcus Aurelius, who ran the most powerful empire on earth for 20 years, wrote one principle in Meditations that most people read and immediately forget. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He did not mean stop planning. He meant most of what you reveal about yourself before it is ready does not make you closer to people. It makes you vulnerable to them. The Stoics understood something about human nature that most people never learn. Other people do not hold your private self the way you hold it. They cannot. They have their own fears, their own agendas, their own interpretation of everything you say. So when you hand them your raw, unfinished self, your unachieved goals, your unhealed wounds, your private plans, you are not connecting with them. You are handing them something they will often, without meaning to, use against you. Here are 10 things Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics believed you should never tell anyone. Not because you have something to hide, but because some things belong to you until they are ready. Each of these 10 things has a reason, a Stoic reason, not a manipulation tactic, not a social game. Every one of them comes from a single idea that Marcus Aurelius returned to again and again in Meditations. Your inner world is yours. Guard it, not because you are afraid, because what is protected grows. What is constantly exposed does not. Some of these will feel obvious. Keep watching. The reason behind each one is what matters. And by number 7, most people are hearing something they have never been told before. The moment you announce a goal, something chemical happens in your brain that feels like progress. It is not progress. It is the brain receiving the social reward of being seen working towards something before any of the actual work has been done. Research has confirmed this for decades, but Marcus Aurelius described it 2,000 years earlier. He wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of what you do not have. Count the blessings you do have, and think how much you would have wanted them if you did not have them already." He meant, the energy you spend announcing the dream is energy you are not spending building it. Tell no one your goals until you have something real to show. Then the showing will be the announcement. This is not the same as saying do not ask for help. Do ask for help, always. But there is a difference between asking for help and handing your rawest pain to someone who does not have the capacity to hold it. Most people do not have that capacity, not because they are bad, because they are carrying their own weight. When you give your unprocessed pain to someone who cannot hold it, it does not come back to you lighter. It comes back shaped by their fears, their projections, their limited understanding of your life. Marcus Aurelius lost children. He watched close friends die in plague. He managed the grief of an empire. He wrote almost none of this to other people. He wrote it to himself in Meditations. Choose where your pain goes. Not everyone who loves you is built to hold the specific weight you are carrying right now. The Stoics were not anti-wealth. Seneca was worth the equivalent of $300 million. But they were deeply specific about who knew it. If people know you have money, they relate to the money, not to you. If people know you do not have money, they relate to the lack, not to you. Either way, the number becomes the relationship, and the number is not you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." He did not mean money. He meant the thing underneath the money, the character, the philosophy. Your financial situation is your private architecture. Share it with the people who need to know it. Accountants, partners, family. not with people who will simply reclassify you based on it. Every move you announce before you make it gives the world time to prepare a counter. This is not paranoia. This is physics. Marcus Aurelius spent 19 of his 20 years as emperor on military campaign. He understood operational silence the way soldiers understand it. You do not announce the advance. You advance. This applies to careers, to relationships, to creative work, to business decisions. When you are about to make a significant change, the silence before the move is part of the power of the move. Let the action speak, not the announcement of the action. Not all fears. Some fears are worth sharing. Fear of heights, fear of being late, these are fine. But your deepest fear, the one underneath everything, the one that tells you who you are afraid of being or afraid of never becoming, that fear belongs to you until you have done the work on it. The Stoics practiced what they called negative visualization, sitting alone with the fear, examining it, making peace with it before it was ever handed to another person. Why? Because the moment you name your deepest fear to someone who has not earned that level of trust, you have handed them a map of how to hurt you. Most people will never use that map, but some will, and you cannot always know in advance which is which. Work on the fear first, then share it if you choose to, from a place of strength, not exposure. We live in a culture that has turned effort into content. 5 a.m. wake-ups posted, workout logs shared, 70-hour weeks announced. Marcus Aurelius was quietly the most disciplined person in the room. Almost nobody knew. He wrote about it to himself. Telling people how hard you work does two damaging things simultaneously. First, it signals that you need recognition for the effort rather than the result. Second, it gives people the opportunity to measure your output against your claimed input, and that comparison almost never flatters you. The Stoics had a word for virtue performed for observers. They called it performance, not virtue. Work deeply, in silence. Let the result be the only announcement. This sounds counterintuitive in a world that rewards expertise performance. But the Stoics understood something about knowledge and power that most people get backwards. When you reveal everything you know, you surrender the ability to learn from the person you are speaking to. Because once you have shown all your cards, the conversation becomes a performance of what you already have, rather than an exploration of what you might find. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most educated men in Roman history, was famous for asking questions rather than delivering answers. He kept most of what he knew in reserve, not from arrogance, from the understanding that a full vessel cannot receive anything new. Know deeply, share selectively, always leave space to learn something from the person across from you. This is not the same as suppressing your emotions. Suppression is a different thing entirely, and a damaging one. What the Stoics meant was this: your emotional state right now is not the final truth about how you feel. It is a weather report, and weather changes. When you broadcast every emotional fluctuation to everyone around you, you are asking the people in your life to navigate your weather rather than to know you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He did not mean feel nothing. He meant feel it, process it, and then choose what to transmit. The people who trust you most are the ones who know that when you speak about how you feel, you have thought about it first. What you say means something because you do not say everything. Marcus Aurelius was betrayed by people he trusted. He was undermined politically. He had enemies inside his own court. He never spoke about revenge. not because he was weak, because he understood what resentment actually is. He wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it." When you tell people about your plans for revenge or your ongoing resentment toward someone, you do two things. First, you bind yourself more tightly to the person you resent. You are now carrying them with you into every conversation. Second, you reveal to the listener exactly where your open wounds are. Resentment is information about what matters to you. It is private information. Handle it privately. Process it. Release what can be released. Address what needs addressing. But do not make it part of your social identity. The people who define themselves by who wronged them never move past the wronging. This is the one that Marcus Aurelius returned to more than any other. Meditations is full of it. In almost every book, he reminds himself that other people's opinions are not in his control, and therefore not in his domain. He wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." And here is the specific warning. When you let someone know that their opinion of you affects you deeply, you have handed them a lever. Most people will never pull it, but the knowledge that it exists changes the dynamic regardless. The Stoics called the opinion of others externals, things outside your control, and therefore outside your measure of self-worth. You can care about how you are perceived. You can want to be understood. These are human and reasonable. But the weight you give another person's opinion, that is yours. Keep it private, because the moment someone knows they can destabilize you with a word, you have made their word more powerful than your own. Every one of these 10 things has the same root. Your inner world is architecture. What you build inside yourself, your goals, your philosophy, your emotional life, your plans, your self-worth, is built from the inside outward. When you expose unfinished architecture to weather before the walls are up, it does not build faster. It collapses. Marcus Aurelius spent 20 years as the most powerful and most observed person on earth. He was never alone. He was always being watched, recorded, judged, and interpreted. And yet his private self, the self he wrote about in Meditations, was the most protected and most developed thing about him, because he understood that the private self is not the hidden self. It is the real self, the one that is still becoming, the one that does not need an audience to be worth building. These 10 things are not walls to keep people out. They are the conditions under which something worth knowing is built. Everything in this video came from one source: Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a private journal he never intended to publish, written by the most powerful man on earth, to himself, about himself. The irony is perfect. The most honest book ever written about the importance of inner privacy was a private book. It is free as your first Audible audiobook. Link is in the description. Start with book 2. It is the shortest. Something will shift. Subscribe if you are building the version of yourself that does not need an audience to be real. New wisdom every week.